actually degenerated to something completely else. But let's be honest for a moment. Rory McDonald, spectacular performance versus Bj Penn. There was obviously some history there with Bj Penn and Firas Zhabi in the camps, but do you think it's finally over?
Oh yeah, it's definitely over. It's been over for a while. I have a lot of respect for Bj. I think it's mutual, our camps, but it's a rivalry. You know, it's a healthy competition. After the fight, I thanked him for paving the way for these guys. You know, he really helped the sport develop, and Rory respects him, I respect him, George, TriStar, everybody. But we push each other, you know, we see him do well, we learn from him, you know, maybe some guys see us do well and they learn from us, but it pushes us to compete, you know, because at the end of the day, if you fear your opponents, you're going to work even harder, you know, and he's put that fear in all of us, you know.
How much does Rory learn from his performance against Carlos Condit? Because you can tell in that fight there with Bj Penn, he was going for the finish, but he wasn't being aggressive. He was picking his shots. Is this another showcase of the evolution of Rory McDonald?
You know what? With a guy like Bj, when he's hurt, you jump on him, and then you got to catch your breath. He's got a head like a brick. He's got an incredible chin. He's got a heart of a lion. Then he comes back and he beats you. But you can't give him that chance to get on top. Once you get an experienced guy on the ropes, you got to keep him there. And if you break him, you break him, but you got to keep that right distance. You know, if you just jump on him, you can get a situation like Pat Barrier versus Chicago or whatnot. You know, things can turn. Once you get on top of a guy, you stay on top of him and you break him down until he's finished. Well, Bj, he's in the best shape of his life. I think he really was in the best shape of his life. I was extremely impressed.
What does this mean for Rory McDonald? Do you think he'll get this fight with Carlos Condit? I mean, it's obviously a very tactical. I mean, I talked about it before. He has to call with Carlos Condit to get that monkey off his back. What do you do to make some changes in Rory? Oh, you disagree?
I think so, you know, but I think it's more, I think from what I understand, they've accepted already. I don't know, it might be just talk, but from what I understand, it's going to happen. But at the end of the day, it's Rory has evolved so much since then that for me, it's a completely new fight. You know, it's two new guys fighting. The old Rory and the old Condit, they don't exist anymore. These guys are completely different, so I think it's going to be a very different story this time around.
Let's move on to George St. Pierre. I took a lot of flack for saying that George would not fight Anderson Silva or Johnny Hendricks next. I said Diaz, and I got pretty much berated and laughed at. And now you came out recently and said, yeah, we'll take on Diaz if that's the fight. And Dana comes out and says, that's probably the fight we're going to put together. Any surprise there? No,
you know what? When George was sidelined and Diaz called him out, I think it stuck with George. And he vowed to me that he wanted to get that fight. You know, I never seen him so emotional about something. I even told him, you know what, like, just keep your head on, you know, neutral, you know, just fight like you always fight. Use skill. You know, he was foaming at the mouth. He wanted that fight, and he never forgot it. And the second he's healthy enough and he can line up that fight, I knew he was going to pull the trigger on it. It's been brewing for years. Everywhere I go, people are asking me, you know, when is he going to fight Diaz? When is he going to fight Diaz? I always tell them, hey, he's fighting Condit. Condit's the guy. There's no talk about Diaz. But we all had it in our minds that once the Condit fight was over, you know, that's the fight everybody wants to see. The fans want to see the fight. We've been egged on forever. People always ask me about that fight. You know, even today, some people ask me about the fight. You know, so it's just, I think that's what the fans want.
When The Ultimate Fighter first came out, no one could convince me otherwise that Mike Ricci was going to make the finals. I had no disrespect to any one of the contestants on that show, but I've seen Mike compete. I've seen him at the camp so many times. Are you pleasantly surprised that now it's finally out there that he did make it to the finale? And what's in store for the finale on Sportsnet next week?
I think he's in the best shape of his life. I think he's in the most technical, the highest technical level he's ever reached, and it's now, and now's the time for him to shine, and now's the time for him to fight.
You talk about Firas Zhabi as the coach because there was a really great tweet that came out that said Firas Zhabi for Coach of the Year. George St. Pierre's comeback, Rory McDonald, Bj Penn, and now Mike Ricci in the finale for Tough. What kind of year has 2012 been for you?
It's been a great year. You know, we've had a lot of wins. I leave that up to the fans. You know, UFC, whoever votes, whoever does that. You know, it's up to you guys. Me, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and if we get recognition for it, the gym gets recognition, I'll be grateful.
Is the beef between you and I officially squashed? Because I know you know I'm trying to recruit guys from Team TriStar to Team Showdown, and I had a miserable situation with Mike Ricci. Something's got to happen. Something's got to give between us, Jimmy. What's going on here?
Until you get the facial hair, it's never going to be over.
Firas Zhabi, in my opinion, Coach of the Year for 2012.